Now we should also understand this, how this whatever communication which we are doing, or whatever data we are sending, it is sent in just a blink of eye. Okay, so for that we have to understand that the entire suite of protocols work behind it, behind the efficiency of the internet. By suite of protocol, I mean protocols are basically standards. Okay, some rules, regulations, some protocols, some standards. Okay, so these standards help in maintaining integrity, help in maintaining confidentiality as well as speed of internet. So for here we have entire suite here in at the right side of the screen. You can see this IP, which we have already seen what IP is, Internet Protocol. Okay, above that there is TCP, okay, Transmission Control Protocol. Then TLS, DNS, UDP, all these protocols work hand in hand to make the services available to us. And on the top of that, there is HTTP. Okay, now HTTP is basically Hypertext Transfer Protocol, one of the most important protocol which we see if we use internet, if we access internet. And on the top of that we have HTML, CSS, web APIs, JavaScript. This is for displaying kind of thing, for interface making. Okay, so for HTTP we will see like it is very important for transferring, like here in this diagram you can see here is one screen wherein users give request to the server. So this is basically client and this is server. So client all the time request for something. For example, let's say www.google.com. So the request of google.com is sent to the server. The server will find out where google.com page is there, and it will give back the response to the screen of the client. That is, it will display that response over here with the page of google.com. Okay, so in this way internet works, and the major role of HTTP is behind this. Okay, so this entire request response protocol is the client server architecture which is being followed for by the internet, and this HTTP rule is being followed. It is actually simple, extensible, and stateless. That is, we for every request made by the client, which is received by the server, will either be having response as zero, like it will maybe its response is fulfilled, or there is no response to it. It will generate some error. Okay, so there are two types of response which server will make. One is it will give that particular request to the screen of client. Other one is it will generate error that this particular request cannot be fulfilled due to some error or due to some problem. Okay, so it is stateless in nature. So further, if we move further, when we use our browsers, okay, so browser is having on the top of the browser, we are having a URL on it. Okay, either it is google.com or whatever we want that particular resource is displayed on it. URL is basically Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, so it includes the protocol which we were talking about. That protocol is mentioned along with the host name. Let's say, for example, we say google.com. So here host name would be www.google.com. Okay, this example is given for you. So here you can see this is protocol. This is host or host name. Then a port number is given. Port number is like through which port your communication or your request is being sent and the response will come back to you. Okay, so that one is port number. Then further, resource path is there, or path and file name is there, like on this path, in this particular file, and in this particular folder. Then you'll be having this query, that is, this is one identifier, this is another identifier, and if this query is true, then only it will flash you or it will display you that particular content which you are asking for, which you are requesting for. So I hope it is clear. This is Uniform Resource Locator. And another thing which we readily, listen to it is Uniform Resource Identifier. Now, difference between the two is like URL is a bigger class and URI is a part of it. You can say URI, that is Uniform Resource Identifier, gives you a single detail out of that particular file which you are accessing. Okay, like for example, an example is given for you here. Now here name anchor is one part of a single smallest entity which this client is looking for, name anchor. Now what the server will do, rather than getting the entire file, it will give you that particular single identifier out of it. Okay, so I hope it is clear now what is URL and URI. Moving further, how they work actually. So from here, as we know that we use browser for accessing internet. So user issues URL from the browser. Okay, so user will give pass on this URL, and this URL get converted as a request. At the back end, this request look like this, wherein get, then URL, then HTTP, its version is mentioned, and then host is mentioned, and many other details are there. Okay, so in this way browser sends a request message to the server. Now once it receive it, it is reaching the server. Server will map that particular URL present in the request to the file or program which is present in its documents and directories and files and folders. It will search it, and once it is searched, it founds it, then it will attach it into the response. Okay, and it will return the response message in the form of HTTP, which is the protocol being used. 1.1 is the version. Then 200 okay means that okay, whatever request you have given me, you have given the server, it is found in the files and folders of server, and now that server is sending you or fulfilling you your request, and response is given to you, and many other detailing is also there. And then that particular response get displayed to the screen of the browser, and you as a client or as a user get to display all these things. So you can see how many steps are done just in a blink of eye. Okay, so moving further, this HTTP is very effective tool or protocol, but there are few drawbacks which were spotted and are, those are patched with some secure version. So whenever a browser or a client and server used to make request and response or communicate between each other, this client server communication happens, anyone and everyone who is present in the middle can easily peep that what communication is being done. You see, if we two are talking and some third person is listening to us, our secret talk, then that is like your confidentiality is lost. Okay, your security is, your personal space is lost. Okay, similarly, hackers or intruders easily get to know what details you are talking about and can misuse that information. Okay, so for that purposes, what was done is a secure version of HTTP was implemented that makes this particular communication encrypted. Okay, like you can take one example of this, Helen. Okay, Helen used HTTP when she sent request of www.example.com along with her password. Then this attacker who was in the middle was easily able or capable to see this password, and he can easily, you can say, reuse it or misuse it. Okay, her password, her login ID, her credentials, because they were sent without any password encryption. Okay, but now with the advent of HTTPS, this password ABC123, it is now sent with the password encryption. This encrypted password cannot be decrypted by this person unless and until it has all the keys and public private key and proper decryption algorithm for the same. So hence it makes our communication more reliable and more secure. Okay. So similarly, another